breathe in gently, letting the quiet of your room settle like the soft twilight that once draped the rooftops of old Constantinople. Imagine lanterns flickering along narrow lanes, their amber halos glimmering on damp cobblestones. The distant Bosphorus exhales a cool, briny sigh, while a faint, reassuring rattle of copperware drifts from behind carved wooden shutters. Tonight we wander back to the 1720s, to an Ottoman coffeehouse tucked within the winding streets of Istanbul, a place of fragrant steam, hushed conversation, and unexpected tension. Over the next unhurried hours, you will rise before dawn as a humble coffee roaster, witness a swelling revolt, trace secret poetry hidden in a tobacco case, and finally slip into Topkapa's lantern-lit chambers, where sherbet fountains sing beneath alabaster bowls. Let each scene unfold like a slow curl of steam above a porcelain cup. Should sleep find you, welcome it. The story will continue its measured pour until you return. Imagine yourself waking long before the muezzin's call, when the sky is still ink blue, and the city lies in a hush broken only by seabirds and the faint lap of harbor waves. You fumble for a woolen cloak, rough against your fingers, still scented with last night's charcoal. The chill bites gently at your cheeks as you step into a courtyard paved with worn stone. Overhead, stars glimmer between drifting clouds like pinholes in dark silk. Your walk is short, just beyond an archway where vines cling to plaster. But every footfall echoes, reminding you that most of Istanbul still dreams. Inside the coffeehouse's back room, the air greets you with layered scents. Lingering tobacco, a ghost of cardamom, and the sharper promise of raw coffee beans stored in burlap. A brass oil lamp sputters, casting soft rings of gold that dance along soot-blackened walls. You kneel before a broad copper brazier, raking ash aside to reveal embers crouched like sleepy fireflies. A breath through slender bellows coaxes them alive. First a faint glow, then a steady crimson blush. As warmth creeps outward, you tip a wooden scoop of pale green beans into a wide-bellied pan. They tumble with the soft patter of rain on a clay roof. The pan rests on a low tripod. You grasp the polished wooden handle and begin to stir. 1, 2, 3, pause, letting the rhythm match the measured thump of your heart. Soon the beans crack softly, little sighs escaping as their skins blister. A nutty aroma rises, mingling with charcoal smoke, weaving tendrils that curl toward the ceiling beams. Outside, the bakery's apprentice hurries toward clay ovens, while within, you watch the beans darken from pale gold to cinnamon to mahogany. When they reach the color of polished walnut, you pour them onto a marble slab. A soft hiss rises as trapped oils meet the cool stone. While the beans rest, you grind yesterday's roast with a brass mortar and pestle. Slow strikes echo like a heartbeat in a quiet chapel. Thud, hush, thud, hush. Powder fine as desert sand clings to the rim. You scoop a measure into a narrow pot, add cool water, and place it at the brazier's edge. Tiny bubbles form, rise, collapse. 3 times you lift and settle the pot, coaxing a thick, velvety foam. You pour the dark liquid into a porcelain cup whose rim bears a faint crack shaped like a crescent moon. Steam swirls upward, carrying bitterness softened by hidden sweetness. Dawn's first blush touches the horizon as you lift another scoop of raw beans and begin the circle anew. 1, 2, 3, pause, letting the rhythm settle, steady and unbroken. The sky above Istanbul turns heavy pewter in late September 1730. You stand at the doorway of the coffee house, whose brazier once glowed so gently at dawn. The street hums with low voices quickened by rumor. Inside, the sailor Patrona Halil hunches over a single fincan of coffee, rope-scarred fingers tapping the saucer in impatient staccato. Around him cluster cloth dyers, water carriers, and janissaries on half-pay, complaining of taxes and tulip-loving ministers. Halil lifts his drink, inhaling bitter steam. "Shall we toil while others feast on sherbet and roses?" he murmurs. A murmur answers, like wind through cypress. No swords leave scabbards, yet the air shifts as charcoal flares a shade brighter. Word spreads from this lane to the warren of the Grand Bazaar. Halil strides through crowds, sleeves rolled, speaking of equal coin, for equal work and righteous displeasure. Coffeehouses become listening posts. Lamps hiss, shadows sway, and every face tilts toward his voice the way sunflowers lean toward dawn. One dawn, a detachment of sipahis clatters down the lane, brandishing an edict. Unlicensed coffeehouses must close. Patrons inhale sharply, bitterness sharper than coffee grounds. Halil meets the officer's gaze without blinking. "Where will a poor man warm his hands?" The officer folds the edict and steps away, aware he has spilled oil near an open flame. Shutters are ripped from hinges, roasted beans scatter across cobblestones, and sweet smoke rises in accusing wisps. Crowds converge on At Maiden, drums pounding a deliberate rhythm, steady, relentless. In the square before Topkapa's imperial gate, Patrona Halil climbs a marble fountain, raises a tattered fez, and demands the dismissal of the Grand Vizier. Silence follows. Then a decree drifts down like a lone petal. Within hours the Vizier flees, the Sultan retreats, and the lavish tulip era wilts. Coffeehouses reopen and close again. Some brazier trays lie overturned like empty shields. Halil's triumph proves brief. Palace intrigue ends his days, yet echoes remain. Stricter controls, tempered taxes, a lingering sense that even the humblest cup can carry the heat of dissent. The drums fade, the crowd disperses. Charcoal cools. Early evening settles over Galata's slopes. Lamps kindle one by one against mellow stone facades. You enter a modest tobacconist's shop, its shelves lined with silk pouches and tin boxes no larger than sparrow eggs. Mustafa Bey, the shopkeeper, lifts a small silver tobacco case, etched with arabesques. Inside rests not tobacco, but a delicate scroll, scarcely wider than a fingernail, coiled tight as a cinnamon curl. Under magnifying glass, calligraphy appears as gossamer threads, a Hamayili, protective charm and love poem in Persian Nastalku. You recite its first couplet, voice hushed. In silence I wander, seeking the scent of a rose hidden beneath the ash, where embers still glow. Mustafa explains his grandfather smuggled the scroll during censorship days, its rose and ember metaphors veiling appeals for justice. Drift to a scribe's workshop overlooking the Golden Horn. Afternoon light stripes a teak desk crowded with reed pens trimmed to needlepoints. The scribe dips a pen into ink ground, with crushed lapis, so the text glimmers faintly blue. Breath held, he writes a full verse within a space the size of a date seed, pauses to let the ink settle, then rolls the dried scroll around a sliver of reed tied with pomegranate red silk. Such Hamayili travel in tobacco cases, turban folds, amulet pouches, ideas passing checkpoints where louder proclamations would fail. Back in the shop, you unroll the final couplet. When the garden wakes, nightingales will sing of quiet streets where cups of coffee steam and no guard bars the door. Hours pass unseen. The watchman's staff strikes cobbles outside. You replace the scroll, the lid clicking shut as softly as a heartbeat. Cool air brushes your face, a knee flute improvises in the distance, notes drifting like ink strokes on parchment. Words, small as dust motes, have outlasted riots and edicts. Jasmine and distant charcoal mingle as you walk away, carrying the hush of centuries entwined in one fragile scroll. Night deepens as you approach Topkapa's great gate, marble arch, glowing ivory in lantern light. Inside, gardens unfurl, lavender, myrtle, and low channels of water, tracing silver ribbons toward a central basin. Servants carry rose-water ewers, their slippers whispering across polished flagstones. Iznik-tiled passages open onto a courtyard where a marble fountain flows with chilled pomegranate sherbet. You lift a glass cup. Its cool sweetness spreads across your tongue. Beyond, an accountant bends over ledgers, quill scratches mapping sacks of Yemeni beans and bolts of Bursa silk. Quiet bureaucracy, humming beneath imperial grandeur. Heat swells from the palace kitchens, scented with cinnamon and lamb fat. Cooks move with disciplined calm. A tray for the Sultan's midnight meal is arranged with stuffed grape leaves and honey-glazed apricots. An aide pours fresh coffee into miniature cups. Aroma drifts, mingling with sandalwood incense. Windows open to the Bosphorus, where a salt-tinged breeze flutters gauze curtains. A treasurer who balanced numbers now sips coffee, eyes softening into simple pleasure. Numbers fade. Only steam, silk, and poetry remain. Courtyard lamps dim. Sherbet streams slow to a hush. A nightingale begins its song. Lanterns cast arabesque shadows that dance across plaster walls. Jasmine blossoms silver in moonlight. The fragrance of cardamom and the clink of porcelain cups recede, leaving quiet air and steady breath. All that remains is a peaceful landing. Let palace lanterns dim to embers, their glimmer settling like fireflies on polished stone. Take an unhurried breath and feel the stillness of night gather around you, gentle as a woven shawl. Somewhere, an imaginary Czesvi rests on cooling charcoal. The final swirl of foam drifts to silence. Dawn charcoal and midnight sherbet, uprising drums and miniature verses, humble alleys and alabaster bowls have all merged into one calm skein. Let that rhythm govern your breath now. Inhale the nutty fragrance of freshly roasted coffee. Exhale like a slow curl of steam disappearing into cool air. Stray thoughts may drift, perhaps a secret line of poetry or the crystal trickle of sherbet. Allow them to wander. They are light as petals, incapable of burden. No edict closes your door, no drums beckon you to march. The comforts of this moment are yours alone. The reassuring weight of blankets, the quiet pulse within your chest. The certainty that morning will arrive without demand. If memories of Patrona Halil's fervor stir, let them settle like spent embers beneath safe ash. If miniature letters flash behind your eyelids, imagine them fading into a pale wash of dawn. Soon your mind will float like lanterns across a still courtyard pool. May your sleep be as calm as cooling jasmine air, as sweet as sherbet on the tongue, and as enduring as ink pressed into parchment. When morning filters in, rise refreshed, carrying a subtle echo of distant coffee pots and soft Arabian verses. For now, surrender to the hush. The brazier is ash, the palace quiet, and the hour utterly yours. Rest well.